Thank you for the introduction. And of course, this is one of the interesting applications, especially when you come from the mining center of the world, which is Perth. There are lots of mining activities. I think this is one of the interesting applications. Now, today I will touch upon some of use cases, and mine rehab, of course, is the important one. So before going into further detail, if you've got any question, please use this code, and I will try to cover a few if any time left. So just a brief introduction to Mapizy activities. Mapizy is a high-tech company based in Australia, Perth. And we use satellite imagery and aerial imagery in general from multiple platforms, from drone, from aerial, from satellite, and even from, for example, the smartphone images, and also in underwater environment to pull out analytics and information for various types of industries. As you see in this image, this is just a snapshot of various types of analytics that we extracted from various types of imagery. And I think that's one of the beauty of geospatial and imagery is that you can pull out the various types of information. Now, in some of this, for example, we use the AI and we pull out information in the urban environment, like, for example, the quality of a building, rooftops, the shape, solar panels, swimming pools, trees, and a wide range of features, and also risk from environment. In some other application, we use the machine learning to, for example, create forestry inventory, which is, for example, counting number of trees, the quality of the trees, weed, pest, and disease. And so all this sort of information in the natural environment, and also in the build environment, road mapping, producing street furniture information. So these are another interesting application that we work and develop solution in the past. Now going to the mining areas. In the mining areas, as you know, mining companies have a commitment to the government. So they, after the mining activities as a stop, so they have to make sure that the mine site is back to the natural environment. So they call it mine closure. So they have a commitment that making sure that the natural environment is back. One of the tools that can be used to make sure that the natural environment is back is using satellite imagery or aerial imagery or remote sensing data, and also image analysis tools to make sure that the success criteria in mining rehab has been met. The main challenge is that capturing high resolution data, of course, that's very impressive, but it's very costly. In the left, as you see, this is a 15 centimeter aerial imagery. You can see much more level of detail. You can see plants in much detail. You can see topography. And on the right side, in contrast, you see half-meter satellite imagery. Of course, we are losing some of the detail, but still it is possible to differentiate between different types of plant species or different types of features. And initially we used the LiDAR and aerial imagery, and we use a traditional machine learning solution. This is the workflow that we developed. And through this technology, we produce some information that mining companies are interested, like vegetation metrics, quality assessment, and report. So this information can be extracted from LiDAR and from multispectral aerial imagery. But as I said, the main bottleneck is the cost of this data, because just for a small site, the cost of LiDAR and multispectral imagery is over 100K, which is a bit costly. So that's main obstacle for repeated analysis of the mine site. For this analysis, we use traditional machine learning approaches like random forest. As you see, we removed shadows. That was one of the limitations, and then apply machine learning. And then after a couple of post-processing, we produce analysis. This is a classification result. As you see here, we successfully classified, for example, grass, shrubs, whether that's tall, low, and two types of grass. They call the grass hummock and grass tussock. These are great learning I guess I had from this project, because my background is geospatial and computer. So these are things that we learned during this project, which I really enjoyed that. And after this, we used play out satellite imagery, which provided by Airbus, and we use Airbus data, and we use artificial intelligence, which is much more powerful than traditional machine learning solution. And we use the same training data. We use some techniques to increase the size of training data, because when your training data is not sufficient, perhaps traditional machine learning solution are suitable, like random forest, super vector machine, and this and a couple of others. But if you're going to use AI and get high quality result similar to aerial imagery, you need to use a technology that you need to either capture more training data through expert knowledge of biologists, or you need to use technology to increase the size of the training samples. In this case, we capture some training data on the computer, on the screen, and also we use technology to increase the size of training data, make it suitable for AI. Now, this is the result of both analysis. On the left, we use aerial imagery and LiDAR. As you see, the proportion of different plants. And on the right, you see the satellite imagery. And the cost is, of course, is much, much less than aerial imagery and LiDAR. So here, as you see that there is a good correlation between left and right. As you see, the only problem that we notice is that in the size of the shrub low and shrub tall, because in satellite, we don't have height information, because this information is not available. So it's really difficult to differentiate between two. But other than this, there is a good correlation. If you've noticed, for example, in terms of grass, trees, and bare ground, so all these features has a good correlation. So the conclusion from this use case was that we can use satellite imagery, we can use the powerful AI technology, and we can produce similar quality analytics when the requirement is a bit relaxed, and we can pull out this information. The only, I guess, challenge is that if for mine rehab, one of the requirement is the earth topography. If earth topography and morphology is the case, definitely LiDAR has to be captured, or a stereo satellite has to be captured, because a stereo satellite provides height information, and height information can be used for geomorphology analysis. But again, capturing a stereo satellite is a bit costly. So it's a bit different to single satellite imagery. So this analysis is just limited to single satellite imagery. Now, another interesting project that we completed in Singapore, particularly is more relevant, is using satellite imagery and AI, and create some information about building rooftop. This project was done for JTC, and the purpose was finding those areas on the rooftop that are suitable for solar panel installation. People want to know how much energy they can create if they put solar panel on rooftop. So what we did, we collected training sample from various types of roof substructure, from heating, cooling system, vent unit, and all this information. We use AI, and as you notice on the image, all has been successfully detected, and we removed all this feature. What left was the area that are suitable for solar panel installation. That was a good example of collaboration between Australia and Singapore. Another application that we have been awarded by Maxar 2 years ago, that was using World View 3 imagery and producing tree inventory result. On the middle, you can see the tree counting result, which has been overlaid on the image. We use AI, and we produce tree counting result, which is a challenging task, because trees are not quite obvious. It's really difficult to differentiate between them. In some areas, there is a gap. In some areas, trees are very overlapping crowns. we developed this solution, and then we build on that and produce some other product out of this for forestry industry. On the right side, you can see that we can use AI and count the number of tree flower. This is an application for honey production industry, and knowing the number of tree flower, you can put certain number of bees to make sure that they are at the optimal performance. So this is another application that complements aerial imagery. Although aerial imagery is great, you can see the bigger picture, but sometimes industry needs more information, more details. So they should be able to get more information. And this is one example that only tree is not enough. You have to go to the field. You can capture images, but the good part is that you can use your smartphone to capture these images, and the cost of images is almost nothing. Just the cost of going there have to be considered. That's another application for agriculture. And snail is a big problem in Perth, especially for grain industry. And in this project, we use a smartphone to capture imagery of a snail during the day and night, and to make sure that the baiting is effective. We count the number of snails, and also we detect their movement during the night. If they are not moving, that means that they are dead and the baiting is successful. Otherwise, they go up and eats up stubbles. So that's one component for effectiveness of baiting procedure. Another application is just for finding those section of the farm that has a concentration of the snail, so they can start from there. So after this grain has been collected, normally in Australia, we export it to China and Japan. And there is a requirement that there shouldn't be more than a certain number of snails in ship containers. I think one example was in Australia was doing this manually. They take the sample and count the number of snail. But in our work, we put the smartphone on the bill. When grain is moving, we count the number of a snail, and we can provide authorities with accurate number of a snail, so they can ensure that the biosecurity of their country is intact. So another application that we work in the past, we are still working, is fish detection in stereophotogrammetry. This is another area of remote sensing that we work in the closed environment, and we use stereo videos to measure the size of the fish. This is a very big project, and it is a high impact project, because through fish we can measure the health of coral reef. So more variety of the fish, that means more health of the coral reef. So this is one of the reasons that we collect data, and we count the number of the fish, we quantify fish species, and we measure them, and through stereophotogrammetry. And building on all these experiences, we recently launched our property analytics platform. As you see here, this is a snapshot of what we develop in our platform. A range of information we extract from very high resolution aerial imagery at 5 centimeter resolution. And as you see in the middle, for example, roof condition, change detection, and environmental risk like bushfire, earthquake, flooding. All this information in a format that is easy for companies. Just enter the address of the property, and we use over 50 deep learning models for every of those features. So we pull out this information through, for example, the span of time of a couple of years, and we put that into a report that they can use it, and they can, especially for insurance, for finance organization, and also for real estate market, that's the tools that people at the moment are using it. That was the front end. Under the hood, you can see this is one example of the output that we generate using deep learning models. As you see here, solar panel, building footprint, for example, turf, trees, and also swimming pools. So all these features have been detected successfully. I haven't put all the features because would be mix of features. For example, roof quality, whether that's roof material, whether that's tile, metal, and roof shape. All these features through machine learning can be extracted and presented to potential clients. And this is another use case we did in road mapping. Again, I'm going to emphasize that the satellite imagery need to complement it with other existing data. On the left, we use Maxar images. We detect a road network. But using street view imagery on the right, we can quantify the quality of the road surface and measure them, whether there is a pothole or for example, there is a crack. And then we can link that to the road network on the left. So you know that, for example, the rate of damage in the road section, and based on that, you can quantify, you can allocate budget, and you can send crews for the repair. So that's another example similar to forestry that you need to combine underground imagery with satellite together. So in summary, I just want to highlight the fact that satellite imagery these days has sufficient resolution at around 30 centimeter, and companies like Maxar promise to provide even higher resolution. So this is a great opportunity because the level of detail is sufficient for many applications, and you can use deep learning. This can use this powerful technology, and you can pull out very useful information for various industries. And at the same time, there are some features that if you can see in satellite imagery, of course, you can detect them. There is no discussion about this. You need to use high resolution imagery, especially for insurance and for example, finance industries, for these different types of organization that they are looking at much more level of detail. But if the requirement is a bit relaxed or the application is different, satellite imagery, I think, is a great source of data. They are affordable at approximately 10 cents per hectare. I think these are great for, I guess, geospatial application. But at the same time, I think we should combine it with other data set, like street views data, or for example, using a smartphone or low-cost cameras. You can extract lots of information from there. You can combine it. You can verify it with satellite imagery. You can also use that as a training data in an AI loop to improve the quality of the model. So that's the main thing. But of course, there are some applications that, like mining, there is significant risk for sending people in mine site. A variety of risk, especially in remote Australia, I guess, risk in the mine site or in the surrounding areas, like, for example, UV hazard, snakes, or all these sort of things, that it's better to use satellite imagery. But at the same time, there are some limitations to satellite imagery. With satellite, you can't get height information. If you're going to get height information from satellite, suddenly the cost would be similar to aerial imagery, which is not really worth it. So if you need height information, good quality height information for geomorphology analysis of the ground, you need to capture LiDAR or aerial imagery. But if the requirement is just the analyzing the surface, what's on the surface, I believe that using satellite and deep learning, you can get reliable and high quality geospatial analytics. Thank you very much for your attention. And if there is any question, I'm happy to answer.